Hello, this is Rural New Yorker with RivalNewYork.com. I'm revisiting my piece yesterday about, potential things that could happen for the New York Mets in 2017 or wishful thinking for as a Mets fan. It was sort of a fun piece, but I did get some feedback, not from just one, but two or three different people that have no context with the site, which was a big positive. One, Christian Breed from Elite Sports New York did chime in, and he had a lot to say about it, but it was constructive, and I appreciate it. So I actually want to do a video segment revisiting some of his comments, to even though some of them were a little crazy, and yeah, of course, a normal business-minded, you know, fan who's thinking about it, what's possible, what's credible, and what is best for the future, wouldn't have said some of the things I said, but I want to give some context to it. So I actually have the message right here, so bear with me. Sorry for the up and down. But Christian Breed from Elite Sports New York went on to say, LOL, this kid is, or LOL, this kid is usually fair, balanced, and well knowledgeable in New York sports, but this post is so full of nonsense, which it was meant to be, so I should have clarified that a little bit. But either way, let's dig in a little deeper. So, one, a contending team doesn't subtract from their roster during the season. Even if Matt Harvey went the optimistic number he threw out there, 14-2 at the break, and the rest of the rotation was outstanding, a contending team is not going to trade a veteran in season. It doesn't happen. Obviously, a player who has a great year, if they're trying to contend in the World Series, they're obviously not going to do that. But I think I've been into enough signings where Matt Harvey's name comes up, and I think I could speak on behalf of Mets fans. The fact that he has been openly, he grew up a Yankee fan, he has had his issues with the media, he's not a fan favorite. People like his bulldog mentality. I was at game 5 of the World Series in 2015. You can actually see that video from the before the game started. That is actually the flagship of the first homepage. And, I was one of those people with my son who was only 9 months old, or less than that, I think 7 months old, with the earmuffs on and everything. And I was there chanting Harvey just as much as everyone else. But at the end of the day, everyone knows that Harvey will not be a Met come once he becomes a free agent. He's not really. I know the Mets haven't made an effort to talk to him. He's had his injuries, which have all probably precluded that. But we know he's a Scott Boras client. He is going to be testing free agency. So in other words, the best the Mets can get out of him, unless he does bring them a World Series, which at this point I don't think he very well might be the one thing that puts them over the edge to just win a World Series. But I think that we have solid pitching, and you take him out of the mix, Syndergaard, Matz, DeGrom, and then with Gesellman or Lugo, who pitched really well with 2 scoreless innings in his first appearance. I think that we actually have a shot, and people are downplaying the Mets lineup. We had a lot of injuries. We actually had a team that, if they had stayed healthy, Neil Walker and Lucas Duda would have contributed at a much higher level. Third base, right, Reyes, whatever that looks like, could have been a lot better. So the point is, I think every Mets fan is looking for the Mets to get the most out of Matt Harvey, and that might be a package for prospects. Yes, they might wait to the last minute, but I don't think they're going to do as well as Cashman did with Aroldis Chapman, bringing back someone like Clint Frazier or Gleyber Torres. So either way, that's what I was sort of getting at there, but obviously that doesn't make much sense. But again, this is more of a fictional piece. Normally I try to keep it to what things are and the way, facts and realistic things that could happen, but this was more of a fun Sunday piece, but I appreciate the feedback, Christian. 2, Mets are not going to lock up DeGrom, no less both DeGrom and Syndergaard, to long-term deals now, considering they are still under team control for 4 years and with their injury possibility. I believe DeGrom's only under 3. I could be wrong, but I believe it's only 3 more years of DeGrom. And they're going to lock up 2 of them. We already sort of can say that Harvey finds his way out. Of the 3 remaining, Matz has been the most injury-ridden, and I think he would actually take a discount. So maybe he is one of those 2. Syndergaard is going to be a Met for a long term. He wants to be. I expect them to pull the trigger in the next 18 months. I could be wrong, but I do. That's what you see. I mean, whether it's smart or not, Joey Votto was locked up for, I think he was a 10-year deal. You've got all these other young players like Arenado, Tulowitzki, who were all, they purchased them through their arbitration years, and they add on 1 to 3 more after that because it makes sense. Pay them a little bit more, guarantee their money through arbitration years, and lock them up, and I think Syndergaard will be that. So I don't think that was too outlandish to suggest that 2 of them would be locked up. I'm just saying in a perfect world for 2017, it'd be great if, the purse strings were opened. We sort of agreed on the next point, but I'll bring it up anyways. Would love to see Lagares retake possession of center field. That is why he received the contract extension after 2014 to be the center fielder during the duration of that contract. But how is he going to do this unless he's going to play? He's going to get playing time and at the expense of who? Well, we already are seeing that Lucas Duda might not even be a fixture, and that actually could make Jay Bruce worthwhile. I mean, and they've been talking about Wright, the fact that he can't throw. If Wright can't throw, he's probably not going to find himself on the diamond, period. So, and he's already been come forward and said, and others have supported this, between third base, yes, it's a longer throw. Between third base and first, yes, there's throws that need to be made, but as a first baseman, you still need to be prepared to make a throw. So maybe a little less, wear and tear, but in-game wear and tear for a field player throwing is not of concern. They do more practice throwing than they, during practice and drills. So he's even said that won't help his back and won't help his situation. So honestly, I think Jay Bruce, if Wright's playing, he's going to be a third baseman unless they really want him in the lineup instead of Jay Bruce or Conforto. But the point is, I do think that center field could be opened up. Curtis Granderson, he looked like 2 years in a row, he's looked like he got off to slow starts. He could find himself on the bench, which sounds crazy, but I could see that happening if he gets off to a slow start. Conforto pushes his way in. Jay Bruce finds himself at first base, so they move him beforehand. So that's sort of my answer there. Again, I don't think I think everyone wants that, and you agreed with me there, so I won't belabor that point. 4, we agreed on Duda. I just mentioned that I sort of had a negative feeling as a Mets fan, which goes into my next 2 points, really. With Harvey and Duda, I know that Duda showed us he didn't want to be locked up even for another year, and for whatever reason he bet on himself. Well, not for whatever reason, but he did, and now he looks like he might never even play again, depending upon what happens with his back. I mean, backs are rough injuries. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Neil Walker comes back from his back injury, which he seemingly looks like he can do. So either way, I think we agreed on Duda, but I do think we're, so either way, that was one we agreed on. So let me get to the next point. So this one I'm going to read out because this one I just want to back up. And he makes a good point, though. Come on, seriously. How is it in a Mets fan's perfect world that Reyes takes over shortstop and Rivera takes over second base, and you end up dealing Walker and Cabrera? Well, I said if Walker is willing to lock in, I would like that. But if he's not and we're going to lose him to free agency next year, then I would like to see J.J. Rivera step up. Have somebody who we have under contract for a long period of time, a cheap contract, so we can lock up DeGrom and Syndergaard. But right now you can't really see it, but let's quickly shift. This is a Jose Reyes bat. There's a Jose Reyes ball up there, Jose Reyes jersey. Jose Reyes has been my favorite player since Ray Ordonez was out of the picture and Reyes came in. Ahmed Rosario might take that mantle from him at some point because I seem to like shortstops because that's what I played. The point is, I'd love to see him as our everyday shortstop. I mean, yes, Cabrera did an admirable job. He surprises everyone with his lack of range. He just does he gets to all the balls he needs to. But I think Reyes, with his, has a stronger arm, which is proven, and I think his range is better. It's really, he has a lot more mental issues, and his double play turning 2 isn't as good as Cabrera, and he makes a lot of, he makes errors on the easy ones. So I think I'd love to see short, because then we wouldn't worry about who our leadoff man is. Hopefully playing every day at shortstop, going back to the basics for him where he knows what he's doing instead of learning a new position, fitting him where he is, super utility. Maybe he has a better, it increases his OBP. He just feels a little bit more locked in. I'd love to see Jose Reyes the shortstop for the next 3 years. Obviously, I want to see Ahmed Rosario. That's the future, but I'm sorry, there's a little nostalgia, which is the Mets side of this. Like I said, with second base, it more comes back to Neil Walker. The fact that, come on, we just wanted to give you 2 more years, a fair commitment, not $17 million, but you're not worth $17 million. Let's be honest. Come on, Neil. I was at your last autograph session at Steiner Sports in Long Island, and they were going through the line asking who got just your signature, so that they could come to the front of the line because you didn't have anywhere near the number of signings that DeGrom and Harvey did. And that's not to fault you, and I hope you're a Met for the next 3 to 4 years. But if you're not, that was the premise of what I said. Let's see, what else? I think we have one more point here, maybe one more. Let's see. No, I think that was it. I mean, no, we did have one more. The big one. The big one. The big one. Okay. Organization spending is based on organization revenue. No owner of any organization is going to spend his own personal money. None. If the Wilpons sell the team to Mark Cuban, the only way the Mets would be spending more under his ownership is if the organization suddenly increases revenue. The number one way to increase revenue is by increasing the price of your number one source of revenue, tickets. The Mets are currently mid-payroll team because they are selling mid-roll payroll team because they are selling tickets at a mid-market level. It takes several consecutive years of winning that leads to an increase in demand that will allow an organization to increase prices. The first year of any new ownership typically results in a drop in payroll. I think that that's sound judgment, but I have to. I got to play with this one a little bit. First of all, the number one source of revenue, I believe, it is not tickets. It's actually, TV deals. And with SNY being owned by SNY, the Mets are in a very lucrative position where they've actually had offers not for the Mets but on SNY. So I believe that's where it is. I could be wrong. That's just what I've heard. But either way, I like the points he's making about payroll outside of the TV deal. And again, I look forward to his response because I might be wrong there. But that's what my understanding of it is. And I haven't done enough homework because it's been a long day, as you can see from the bags under my eyes. As far as the comment about Mark Cuban, I said gifted, so that means that it was free, which again, perfect world. Mets fan would love to see them just gift it to Mark Cuban so that he could then go. And the issue isn't, yes, I do believe the Steinbrenners, or not Hal Steinbrenner, George Steinbrenner invested his own money in down years and up years. Like, he found a way to spend, and he reinvested in the team. And I think you saw that at a higher degree than any other team. I don't want to say that any other team, but it was well known that he was willing to put the team's money where, put his money where his mouth is and invest in the team. I think that the Wilpons had, as we all know, Bernie Madoff let the Mets clean up their mess, which wasn't really fair to any of the fans. We had 4 to 5 years of just nothing and being, and it probably lost fans to the Yankees, or just period. They're no longer baseball fans. So I don't want to see that happen again. Who's to say that they're not dumb enough to do it again, to do something similar, or run into some other investment that drops off, maybe not a Ponzi scheme. So I'd like to see somebody who is thriving, Mark Cuban, and doing better than the Wilpons, and is willing to really be at every game. And yes, they're probably at every game, but think about it. Mark Cuban is out there, seems like a smart guy. Again, we're going off of Shark Tank, and that's where the comment came up. Obviously, there's plenty of other people that would probably do a better job from an ownership perspective, but that's where that comment was coming from. So either way, Christian, I really appreciate your feedback. The other person, the other two people, their responses weren't as well thought out, weren't constructive, and really just didn't see it the same way as my fictional story included, even though there was some fact to it. So either way, just thought that this would be an interesting thing to do. We are working on those first basemen. I apologize for not getting them out sooner, first baseman rankings. RJ and I are putting them together, and we should have them for you shortly. Top 12 with some audio, video, and text. But either way, this is Royal New Yorker signing off of RivalNewYork.com. Let us know what you think. That's how we'll do more of these mailbag video responses as a result, because really we just want to hear from you, the fan, and see where it takes us.